I had a lot to say about Halo. We put all the interesting bits in the episodic co-op 4, and that's because as low a bar as that game managed to set, it still managed to set something, even if the bar was at a level paraplegics wouldn't have trouble vaulting over, which of course means its sequel didn't even have to do much to restore faith in the series by correcting the problems. But achieving even a mediocre effort still requires misguided passion and bad ideas. Evidence at least some of the Call of Duty washouts who worked on it cared and were daydreaming about working on an entirely different game. Halo, Find Out Why You Kill People by Reading a Book 5 is like trying to discuss the heat death of the universe. Plenty of topics to discuss, but it's all too depressing to think about. I had to struggle to think of anything to say about it, not because the game is good, God no, it's a pile of shit, but because I'm not certain on how one goes about criticizing entropy. Everything declines into a low energy state of disorder after all. I think I'm joined in my dislike for Halo 5 by the very people who made it, since such a product can only result from hate fucking the thing you were tasked with creating. For me, there wasn't a single solitary moment of enjoyment to be found in Halo 5. Granted, I only played the single player, and completely ignored multiplayer and co-op, but I'd rather watch my own birth played in reverse and in slow motion than spend another moment with Halo 5. Did 343 Industries cover their eyes and ears to all criticism of Halo 4? That's the only explanation that makes sense to me. Because if anything, this feels like doubling down on that game's mistakes, believing the fans were the ones who were wrong in a misguided attempt to push their vision of Halo under everyone's fingernails. I suppose there is a bit of poetry to be found in Halo 5, as it best represents the Xbox One console, lacking in direction. For an entire console generation, Halo was pretty much the only first-party exclusive Microsoft had. You'd think that would have resulted in at least this series producing something of merit, but in the end, Halo has become the spoiled only child of a wealthy parent that can only express its love by showering its son in money that's spent on wasting its time since it can't figure out what to do with itself. This makes my second time attempting to send Halo 5, the first being right after it was released, and I played it for 2 hours and decided I'd have more fun staring into the sun, which isn't as far removed from the experience of playing Halo 5 as you'd think, what with its love of lens flare on display every second. Far be it from me from wanting to play as the Master Chief in a Halo game, I guess. I thought this lesson was learned back in Halo 2, when everyone got upset over spending half the game playing as the Arbiter. At least he was actually tied into the plot with a little more effort than a child's first attempt at tying their shoelaces. Agent Locke is a brand new character who blends into the plot about as well as a skin graft on a burn victim. Halo 5 managed to solve the one problem no one ever had when playing co-op. Where do the other Spartans go during the cutscenes? On top of diluting the plot with two main characters, both have their own four-man team, one of which keeps their helmets on like good soldiers. That would be Master Chief's Spartan 2 team, and Locke's Spartan 4 team that never misses an opportunity to remove their helmets and show off the facial capture technology of the higher paid actors. If there's better evidence of which team is the superior soldiers, I'd like to see it. They're all rather forgettable even with their helmets off though. Except for Nathan Fillion, of course, who plays Nathan Fillion in a Halo game for his second time. It just goes to prove that the old Halo games managed to pull off more character with one guy who never showed his face and emoted like he was selling you car insurance in the professionally acted, facial animated, and cinematically shot cast this game gives you. Halo 5 begins with a boring mission briefing about human colonies being attacked by Forerunner constructs. Then it's right into a cutscene where we watch, emphasis on watch, Locke and the rest of his team jump out of a ship and kick the Covenant's ass while they snowboard down a mountain. You could animate Sonic the Hedgehog into this scene and it wouldn't be out of place. Trying this hard to sell me on characters I have learned nothing about is the kind of writing I expect in children's snack food ads. If it doesn't end with Locke tossing a Capri Sun to some kid in glasses to cool him up, I'm going to be disappointed. That's a lie, I'm already disappointed, and nothing is going to change that. To me, Halo died with this cutscene. Halo was always a story of quiet desperation, of humanity struggling to survive in a galaxy that wanted them dead. Why should I be all concerned with their plight if they can do bonkers shit like this?
Comm check.
Maybe the comm check should be done before jumping off the Pelican at 30,000 feet. I held back from comparing Halo 4 to Call of Duty until the very end when it finished with a QTE, something that has never improved any game ever. But Halo 5 doesn't waste a second on confirming those comparisons. You could only ape Call of Duty harder if you release a new Halo game every holiday season. You can now aim down sights, which has never been necessary before, but since that's what you do in COD, you can do it here, even though there's only around 5 guns that can make good use of it. And if you pop iron sights while in midair, you can hover there for a second to line up your shots. But this being a first-person shooter, the guns are what really matter. And once again, I was only satisfied when I had a human weapon in my hands. You begin every level with a rifle and pistol, but outside of the first 3 levels, which are located on human worlds and installations, you'll be tossing them after the first firefight due to lack of ammo. They really want to make the Infinity into their very own enterprise with how much attention they show it. The two issues standing in the way of that is that it's boring to look at, and I don't care about anyone on board it. It was bad enough when Master Chief's own uniqueness was watered down by adding a batch of Spartans to the series, but now he's teamed up with the other surviving Spartan 2s, of which he was supposed to be the only one remaining. But thanks to books and a few RTS games, that good idea has been retconned away. At least when Sonic the Hedgehog went into the decline phase, they focused on furry animals you could have your sexual awakening with. I don't think anyone is writing creepy fan fiction of these guys.
I haven't seen Chief press himself like this since we were in boot camp.
That's the voice of Travis Willingham, once again playing a man in uniform. Some things just never change no matter how long you find yourself playing video games. This isn't how you would slow down a spaceship. That would only speed you up more, since it's still thrust being applied in the direction you were traveling in. You had to flip around and decelerate in the opposite direction to kill your forward momentum. While clearing an Oni ship taken over by the Covenant, Master Chief is knocked into a pit. Yes, a bottomless pit on a spaceship. Go figure that design out. Then he has a dream about Cortana. After he wakes up, he's convinced that this was the real Cortana speaking to him. And damn, do the other Spartans don't just immediately accept this as fact and decide to disobey orders and go with the Chief on a mission to find her instead of assuming the poor guy is suffering from post-traumatic stress.
Hunters. They're strong and slow. Use the lab equipment to keep above them and out of the damage.
Weapons free.
Is this Fred guy really reminding the Chief on how to fight hunters? What in the last 4 games makes him qualified to give this advice to the Master Chief of all people?
Whoever they are, let's get to Meridian before they do.
Kelly, no.
No need to do this by yourself, Chief.
Why? He did pretty well by himself in the last 4 games.
Sierra 117 to Infinity. Argent Moon scuttled. I've reassigned Blue Team. Destination Meridian. Potential contact from Cortana.
Negative 117. Another team is already being prepped to deal with her.
What the hell?
You're to return to Infinity immediately.
Negative Infinity. I don't like it.
If you do nothing but watch the trailers, a suggestion I sincerely hope you take to heart, you'll find that considerable effort went into setting up a big rivalry between Master Chief and Agent Locke, with Locke hunting Master Chief down because of something terrible he supposedly did that branded him a traitor. But what you just saw was the entire reason Locke is sent after Chief to bring him back to the Infinity, and it's the same damn thing Master Chief did in Halo 4. Ignore direct orders when his girlfriend is involved, making Locke's mission about as significant as an Elder Scrolls Oblivion guard concerned with a stolen cheese wheel in your pocket. I don't understand why you'd make the marketing lie more interesting than the reality. It's not as if they couldn't have made that kind of game. The world of Halo, as depicted in the trailers of the Halo games I'd rather be playing, since there's this feeling of loss and human sadness in them that simply isn't present anywhere in the games.
John must not speak to her.
He's gone in search of her.
You let him go?
How is it
Nobody lets the Chief do anything. He does what he wants.
Well, this game doesn't let him do very much at all, with the 3 whole levels to himself.
I mean, how are we even supposed to bring them in? Ask politely?
No.
The hell?
Armor restraint.
And you're only going to bring one even though there are 4 Spartans who have left their post. I don't think Locke ever brings up the other Spartans even once.
So where do we start looking?
The best intel in a place like this comes from the people. Keep your ears open.
Halo 5 has a few moments where it allows you to walk around a friendly area and really make nothing of the experience. Locke can listen in on a conversation or two for some info, and then it's right back to the same linear FPS the game actually is. It's not like the game is giving you side quests you need to turn in or dialogue trees to navigate. You can't even miss it since the game drops a marker on the 2 people you have to stand in front of and listen in on, and it's required to proceed.
Why are you people all over my planet?
With your permission, we'd like to go ask them ourselves.
There's a cargo Pelican on the Meridian Station landing pad. It'll get you out to Apogee the quickest.
Governor Sloan is an AI falling into rampancy just as Cortana was in the previous game, and we find out that he's been in contact with Cortana and even working with her. So why were the Prometheans attacking his colony? And why would he help Locke and his team so much as they fought their way through to the Forerunner site beneath the planet? And curiously, Locke never brings up the rampant AI working with Cortana to his superiors.
I am Warden Eternal. I stand in service to Cortana.
Cortana.
The other humans are approved for passage. Regretfully, you are not.
I'd like to remind you of the Didac from Halo 4, because there's a strong chance you forgot about him, since he's less memorable than even Call of Duty's 3rd or 4th Russian separatist villain. 343 tried to make him into some warrior poet, giving him an accent and the ambition that humans weren't worthy of the mantle and must be stopped. He was about as liked as Tax Day. So here's try number 2, the Warden, neckbeard Optimus Prime, who speaks with an even more pronounced accent and rants about humans not being worthy of the mantle and how they must be stopped. The rest of his character is being a tier 3 sub to Cortana's OnlyFans, since he spends every cutscene gatekeeping other men from interacting with her except him, and gets extremely jealous when Cortana shows more interest in the Master Chief. He's also a special Promethean who you fight multiple times throughout the game in the exact same way because his gimmick is that he has multiple bodies, though he never uses that to his advantage until the final time you face him. He's a boss designed to be fought again and again, and they didn't even bother making it fun, since his weakness is just shooting him in the back, which is the same tactic you use for hunters. I thought this was a team effort. The rest of Team Osiris just stand there and watch Master Chief kick Locke's ass and lock his armor down instead of helping Locke subdue him. Why build a giant robot that's meant to be a guardian of primitive life and then give it teeth?
The Warden confirmed Dr. Halsey's theory. Cortana is activating the Guardians.
But not this one. Not yet. Thanion. A pre-covenant religious site on Sanghelios.
Halsey just somehow knows the next Guardian Cortana is going to activate is going to be on the Elite's homeworld, and this is something the Elites themselves don't even know about.
That noise is an encoded numerical pattern. Paired quantum phase sets. Slip space coordinates for a Forerunner map.
If Locke's team could feed the Guardian the coordinates recorded on Meridian, it would take them to the same place Cortana took Master Chief.
And why can't you just use those recorded coordinates to travel there in the Infinity instead of riding a Guardian? And why would you even need to upload those coordinates to a Guardian when Cortana herself is calling them to her? That'll happen regardless if you act.
I am the Warden Eternal. I stand in defense of Cortana.
The Warden is what happens when you encounter a Discord mod using his favorite anime girl as a profile picture.
You made it! Oh my... I can't believe you're here.
Where are we?
You're on a Forerunner world. Designation Genesis.
Does every name in Halo have to be so damn overwrought with biblical pretense it gives away the function? The Ark, the Covenant, the Flood, and now Genesis. The only time anyone does this is when they are desperate to loan out historical weight to a thinly thought out concept. VeggieTales kept its pseudo-religious context better hidden than this. You see, as soon as you hear the word Genesis, you immediately grasp the context of why they picked the name. And it's, they went with Cortana and Master Chief as Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and Cortana has eaten from the Tree of Knowledge. Jesus wept.
How do we get to you?
By accessing the gateway. The big building putting on a light show. You already triggered most of its activation sequence, just like I knew you would. Just one more to go.
With Chief meeting back up with Cortana, the game returns to its roots by having an entire level spent getting Chief to terminal so he can activate the thing that will let him get to the next loading screen. I've never encountered anything in my life that required me to access 3 separate terminals that are miles apart.
So, you wrote a target dossier on the Arbiter when you wrote Tony.
That was 6 years ago. What's your point?
You recommended assassinating him.
Is there any reason to bring this up other than a lazy attempt to create history between a known character and a brand new one? Of course humans would have wanted to kill the Arbiter 6 years ago. He led the war effort that was committing genocide against them. That's a pretty rational reason to have wanted him dead in my opinion.
Planet's deep in civil war. If this all goes sideways...
I understand, sir. It's not my first mission that doesn't exist.
You don't have to tell me. I don't even remember you being in this series until now.
You will find Arbiter at the Elder Council chambers. Victory to clan and kin, Spartans. Maquis out.
I'm impressed. Arbiter has females in his ranks. War has traditionally been a male's job on Sanghelios.
Before you begin cutting that lovely inclusivity ribbon for adding aliens with different genitals, maybe model them first. The female elite, not the genitals. But then again, since they made a big deal over it, I might as well demand that as well. The female elite the game jerks itself off over is never seen on screen. Only heard over the radio. Yeah, you included a female, but she's still yelling all of her lines from the kitchen off screen. All the self-praise with none of the effort is not going to get those glowing Kotaku articles written about your game.
Yet now you hunt another Spartan, the greatest of your clan.
Let him hunt. He'll never find us.
Cortana says that, but she must know Locke is here to hopefully ride a Guardian to Genesis. So why not activate it now before he has a chance to get to it?
You have the firepower to get us in there.
Sunayan is the Covenant's final stronghold on Sanghelios. We will move only when victory is assured.
Halo 5 is mercifully short, but in that birth defect kind of way where one arm is all twisted and unusable. Short games can be great when they're all thriller and no filler, but in Halo 5 you spend an unreasonable amount of time fighting the elite civil war. Most of the game is spent on achieving just one objective. Why would your digital scanner slash interface slash cracking tool be capable of interfacing with ancient elite stonework? This is a temple they built before they became an advanced race.
Target the air defenses. Clear landing zone.
Maybe you should have brought some explosives with you to destroy the Covenant AA guns instead of awkwardly shooting small arms at them. And why is the first objective to destroy these guns? The Spartans and elites flew into this city in massive ships. They've already gotten past the anti-air fire. The Warden Eternal shows up to stop them from getting on board the Guardian. But in my game, I was incapacitated before I even shot him once. And as I lied on the ground waiting for an AI partner to resuscitate me, I watched the Arbiter beat him back into his black hole. This is the enemy they thought so good that the player should have to fight him multiple times during the campaign. Magnetizing your feet to the side of the Guardian wouldn't stop gravity from acting on you and pulling you face first into the thing's surface, since all you've done is glue your feet to the side of it. Your entire body would have to resist falling forward, and humans aren't built to do that. You can even jump and somehow be pulled back to the surface instead of falling off it. I watched these guys jump out of a pelican at the start of the game at a much higher altitude, then use their jetpacks right before hitting the ground. Why run down this at all?
That's a monitor.
I am 031 Exuberant Witness, monitor of the Genesis installation. Welcome. Have you also come to stop Cortana from cleaning the mantle?
All of a sudden, the game drops a new Forerunner monitor on you who is exceptionally friendly, immediately deduces Locke is here to stop Cortana, and volunteers to help in any way she can. I'd call the plot a slut for filling its holes whenever it wants, but when it's picking the largest and most uncomfortable sized dildo in the shop, it's best to stand back and let it learn from its mistakes.
The mantle.
A forced peace upon the galaxy. The threat of death overpowering any continuation of life. Unless you join with the other humans and stop her, it is your future.
That's what the mantle is all about. I was under the impression that the mantle was a role given to the most advanced species to uplift and protect developing races within the galaxy, not become Space Hitler. What part of the series lore does this even match up with? I'm not simply asking a rhetorical question to nobody, but to the people watching this video who this game was clearly marketed at, people who read Halo novels and comics. This mess is probably your fault after all. You encourage this.
Guardian!
Why has she called so many? A single Guardian can effectively police a solar system. This show of force is unsettling.
Sorry, police? Show of force?
Indeed. Guardians are how the Forerunners enforced peace on the lower systems.
Another Halo game all about the danger presented by leftover Forerunner technology, this time super weapons called Guardians that can police entire star systems. Well, that sounds like an asset that would have been useful during their War of Extinction with the Flood. Guess they forgot about those two, and just left them buried to cause problems for whomever came along after them. The only Forerunner weapons that are remotely interesting are the ones the series is named after. I suppose that's why they tacked on the word Guardian as a subtitle, to add some relevance since the actual Halo in this game doesn't even appear until the last few seconds if you beat it on Legendary difficulty.
Chief, please, wait. Cortana.
She's dangerous. I know.
You don't have to do this alone. We're here to help you.
Doesn't that mean Locke isn't following his own orders now? Which is why he was sent after the Master Chief in the first place? When Locke tried to stop the Chief earlier, he knew Chief's reasons and that Cortana was up to something. He could have said this then and saved us all a lot of time. Because we can't have any development for these two teams. Cortana teleports Chief and his team away for his last level while Locke pounds sand.
Enough games. You brought the Guardians here. Why?
Forerunners used Guardians to keep troublesome worlds in line. I intend to do the same.
Which troublesome worlds did the Forerunners use the Guardians to keep in line? The only trouble we know of them having was with ancient humans, who they fought a war against, but there was never any mention of Guardians.
The mantle of responsibility belongs to Cortana and her people.
Focus fire.
Focus fire, and then the greatest soldiers humanity has ever known proceeded to fire at individual targets.
Cortana, I have failed you.
Mod privileges revoked. Normally when a female character turns evil, they wear less clothes and show off more sex appeal since that's a powerful position. But 343 scanned a model's perfect ass and breasts into Halo 4 and rendered Cortana in jello so they could pretend she wasn't actually nude. So there wasn't any change to make other than to put more clothes on her. And by the time of this game's release, some interesting and not at all unpleasant discussions had been brewing online and they probably didn't want that axe coming down their heads.
Hello, John. It's good to see you.
I swear to God, if they gave Cortana a physical body just so these two can bang it out, I'm done. Seeing this weird sexual tension between them they added has been uncomfortable enough.
What are you?
I just needed to know if I could still trust you. You'll be safe inside this cryptum until my work is done.
I'm not particularly worried about Cortana as a villain, since all she can do is direct people to terminals to plug her into them, unless her big villain upgrade was getting the Wi-Fi password. Cortana called all the Guardians here to Genesis for no actual reason. They were already stationed in systems they could have been subjugating, but she brought them all here just to send them back.
You expect other AIs to join you?
I have cured rampancy. Not just for me, but for any who join my cause. While you've been running around the galaxy, I've been speaking to my created. And now the time has come to ask. Who will accept my offer? Who will help me bring an everlasting peace to the galaxy?
This is Cromwell, shipboard AI, UNSC Melbourne's Pride. I am yours, Cortana.
All of the other AIs humans made join Cortana's side because she can cure rampancy, except Roland on the Infinity for some unexplained reason. I'm assuming every one of these AIs were close to their operational lifespan, because their lack of loyalty is rather surprising.
Just one more question before I go. Where's the Infinity? Why is she so difficult to see?
Shouldn't you have been able to find it? You were installed briefly on that ship. You had no trouble identifying it back in Halo 4.
You took my installation. I will take something of yours.
The finale of the game consists of turning off 3 gravity cores so you can free the Chief and his team from the cryptum, which fails, and is then followed by turning off a relay access so the Forerunner AI, Exuberant Witness, can re-establish control of Genesis, which she uses to stop Cortana from leaving with Chief. These games used to end with a desperate escape sequence. Now they end with what feels like IT work and one girl stealing another girl's man. Locke went through a lot of trouble to keep Cortana from leaving with Master Chief, but the last time I checked they have no way off this planet, so even after rescuing him they're effectively trapped here while Cortana goes about conquering the galaxy. This being the middle game in a new trilogy, it seems determined to run through all the mistakes Halo 2 made, first by spending most of the game playing as some unlikable replacement, then ending on an unsatisfying cliffhanger where Earth is being invaded by a large Forerunner ship.
We've been backstabbed, and we've been quite possibly bamboozled.